Recording. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friends Richard.
Hello.
And Michael.
Howdy.
And these guys, they go head-to-head against each other while discussing the most ubiquitous aspects of any given topic. And this week's topic is the Mount Rushmore of, we all know it, we all eat it, we all love it, cheese.
Perfect reading of the word cheese.
Cheese. Which of you camemberts chose this one?
This was mine.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty good topic.
Oh, man.
Let's avoid all these puns.
I can shoot some holes into this topic.
There was no particular reason why I thought of this. I was just probably...
Isn't your mother Swiss?
This is so brutal. This is like we had a former guest of the show, Patty Colholm.
Yeah.
That did what? Which one did he do? He did the Mount Rushmore of cover songs better than the original, which was very suspicious. Patty just paid us a visit the other day, and he's like, "Oh, how's the podcast? Haven't listened in a few months." And I was like, "Yeah, since you were on the podcast, so
yeah,
gotcha." But he dropped off some cupcakes that his lovely wife had made, and Felix crawled all over him, all over Mount Padmore, and punning things is right up his alley.
Yeah, like this, he's a pun person.
Yes.
Punster.
So I am
a pundit.
Oh, that is so gross.
Yeah.
So I am shivering in my hatred for all of this. But it's funny because like Emily is super clever with wordplay too.
Oh,
so
she's
like
the best, yeah.
she'd be super good at it. But I think Patty revels in it a little too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, I chose this topic because, I don't know, it was right up there with like horses and donuts and whatever, jackets. Just a single item, can go anywhere.
Yeah.
Love these sorts of topics.
Yeah. And cheese, there was a Cracked podcast where they talked about cheese and the National Dairy Council beginning to push dairy products, obviously like milk, but also cheese when the dairy industry was being challenged. So cheese figures more largely in our life than it did, I say, even like 20 years ago before like the Got Milk campaign and stuff like that. So as much as it is beloved, it is a bigger block on the food pyramid than it was even considered to be years before. It's pushed more and more in our diet.
It's like the blob, just keep growing and growing and taking over towns and
arteries.
Yeah, arteries. Okay, Michael chose it. That means Richard starts.
All right, so my first choice is Mr. Mark Jonathan Davis. Otherwise, you might know him as the lounge singer of the current alternative hits, Richard Cheese.
Okay.
See, this is why this is.
Oh, I was thinking Mark David Chapman when you said that. Oh, he's the guy who shot John Lennon.
Yeah, he was a big cheese guy.
Yeah.
No. Richard Cheese of Richard Cheese and Lounge Against the Machine.
Yeah. Awesome.
Which I didn't realize actually started off as a Kevin and Bean bit.
Oh, really?
On K-Rock. Yeah, apparently he was a producer in the mid-'90s on K-Rock. And he had a character. And I wasn't listening back then because I only listened to fruity indie rock.
Yeah.
So, and K-Rock was the devil. I only listened to college radio. But maybe you were listening. There was a character called Paul, the 55-year-old intern.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That was him.
Oh, that's funny.
And then as part of that, they recorded a single called Paul on 45, which was basically lounge versions of all of that year's alternative K-Rock hits. And so from there, it just sort of turned into this cottage industry. Cottage cheese.
This is Paul, the 55-year-old intern, was right up in there with Michael, the maintenance man. And when Adam Carolla first got his start on there, as doing his Mr. Bertram character, and Jimmy Kimmel was on there as the sports guy, and all the different it was weird to think that like Jimmy Kimmel was the guy that just used to read off how high the waves were.
Yeah.
At some point on morning radio.
Yeah.
Right.
He was just
wild.
It's wild. Was like, oh yeah, they're 2 feet today, pretty good coming out of and you're like, what is
the antecedents?
But anyway, going back to the actual cheese today.
Richard Cheese.
That bit seems to be something that is born anew.
Right.
It would think of Steve Allen singing or reading, you ain't nothing like but a hound dog.
Or Bebopalula.
Bebopalula, yeah.
Bebopalula. She's my baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of a throwback to that, I guess. And I remember there being like a minor hit of some lounge band doing Wonderwall right around the same time that like right after Wonderwall got to be this huge hit. There's a lounge type band in England that wound up having like a minor hit with "And After All, ba 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 bum, you're my Wonderwall," that sort of thing. So I think this is in the same sort of realm as that.
It feels like it exists in like I know we talked about Austin Powers on the last episode, like in a post Austin Powers, Burke Baccarat sort of world where there's some sort of connective tissue there.
Yeah, I think in reality, whether it's humorous or not, pop artists covering rock hits in a more folk or loungy kind of way is not something that. Something maybe only vanished for a couple decades and then reemerged. It was something that would be very common.
Oh yeah.
Did he ever like team up with William Shatner?
He should. Oh man, he should. He's done, by my count, 23 albums in 20 years.
Wow.
Including one of them, which was, I think it was called Live from the Wayne Manor Estates or something like that.
That's brilliant.
Which was basically based on the fact that a couple of his songs were used in Batman versus Superman. So they did like a spoof album where they did most of one song, and then Superman's X-ray heat vision came and destroyed the place. But yeah, apparently he's like Zack Snyder is a big fan of his. He's used him in Batman versus Superman. Also used him in Dawn of the Dead.
Wow.
And they were also used in the Lego Batman movie. They did the version of Man in the Mirror. That was a swing and jazz version, as well as a elevator music version of Everything is Awesome.
This feels like, listener, former guest of the show, this is like the Paul Lurie pick of the year. How many of that? You said 22 albums,
23 albums in 20 years.
What do you think the percentage is that Paul owns of Richard Cheese albums?
It's definitely in there. I mean, he's collaborated with Weird Al in the past, so you got to think that there's at least
in
that
the
one.
high 30 to high 40%, right?
Yeah, I would imagine.
You're not going to buy every album,
right?
So I don't know. We'll get a poll going.
That's an interesting
we'll find out from Paul.
Question, because for me, comedy and musical entertainment are things that I like individually, but not always together. And if a band like Bare Naked Ladies or Cake or I don't know, They Might Be Giants slathers all that cheese onto their burger, like how much cheese do you really want on it? So I think that is something that I've grown to have less of a taste for.
Yeah, when you're talking about cheeses, you only need so much cheese on your burgers. What you're saying?
My rock
your musical
burger,
your rock
musical
burger.
Yeah.
That's a good segue to my first pick.
By the way, rock burger, isn't that what they had in the Flintstones?
I think so.
I think they had rock burgers, right?
Yeah. Michael, what's your first?
Greer.
Richard, is Michael having a heart attack?
Think about maybe a stroke, some sort of Bell's palsy situation.
Wait, grab his wallet. Put his wallet under his tongue.
Gruyere cheese.
No, I'm just grabbing his wallet.
Okay. Don't.
Sucks
Just memorizing your credit card.
Joke's on you. It's empty. Gruyere cheese, which
cheese.
is the fancy version of like the best cheese you can have on a burger.
Okay.
If someone's saying like, "Oh, this burger has cheddar cheese," I'm like, "Okay, you know what? That's fine, whatever." And then if they're like Gruyere, I'm like, "Ooh."
Yeah. I loved him in Officer and a Gentleman. I like his cheese even more.
I don't know what it is. It just, I think that it feels fancy.
Yeah.
Even though it's just like a pretty generic ass cheese.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I just always see it and taste it and like, I always like, ooh, get some red onions. I want that cheese.
Yeah.
It's nothing, it's not a special cheese. It doesn't, even though it costs an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
That is actually quite amazing how expensive cheeses are.
I've heard that's true of Kobe beef. It's not anything better than that cow ain't smarter or better or rarer than the other cow.
It's certainly not smarter.
In the Greer Wiki, it said it's described as creamy and nutty when young, becoming more assertive, earthy, and complex as it matures.
Well,
when fully aged, it tends to have small cracks that impart a slightly grainy texture.
well, that's also true.
This is me, Wikipedia.
Yeah. This is a Swiss cheese, by the way. Again, Michael, look at Swiss, Mr.
It's totally Swiss. We were discussing Barack Obama and his penchant for the grainy, fancy mustard. Does this feel like fancy cheese? Like the Grey Poupon of cheese?
Yes, it feels like it, and I don't think it actually is. I think it just has an air
Yeah.
of of fanciness.
It's not even goat or sheep; it's cow.
Yeah, it's just like another cheese that's made someplace else. But in my head, I've built it up to be this really fancy cheese that it is like the next level up of cheddar, and I will always choose it.
Yeah,
when maybe I shouldn't.
It's the red vine of cheese to like Twizzler.
Right.
Oh,
okay. I agree.
Okay, here's a question. Where does Mount Rushmore podcast rank those two? There's a big discussion amongst our idiot friends, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm a red vine person
Yeah, good.
myself.
Okay, it's two to
Because
Red vine.
no, 100% all in.
yeah, because Twizzlers have that kind of strawberry aftertaste that I don't like.
Yeah, good point.
Twizzlers are the bin that they have at work. The big.
This topic is so boring that we're talking.
We're not going off Twizzlers.
candy.
Sidebar.
My apologies, listeners.
Okay, so Richard and Michael have each put in their first choice, and now we're gonna just kind of have a collective sigh. And I've got this little hot plate here, and I've got some bread with butter on it. And I'm reaching into the fridge, and if you hear a little bit of a sizzle for the rest of this podcast, we'll be making my grilled cheeses. Put your grilled cheeses.
Now I got to find a sizzle music drop to keep in the background the entire time.
And you can help the Mount Rushmore podcast by donating tomato soup.
Just cans of
Please,
it.
just cans of it.
Bring it to Jeff's house.
Yeah. Okay, Richard, what is your second choice?
My second choice are the cheeseheads.
Oh, Wisconsin.
Otherwise known as the Green Bay / Milwaukee sports fans.
Cool.
Mainly, I think of them as being the Packers fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although it apparently first got started in the late 80s at Brewers games,
Oh, is that right?
and then it got sort of taken from there and adopted by the Packers fans. Because Cheesehead was sort of a slam on them, a slur on them, versus for the like Chicago sports fans would give them a bunch of cheeseheads.
Oh, okay.
And they kind of just took it as a point of pride, which I love. That's part of what I love about this. Is sort of taking this like negative thing
And owning it.
Yeah. And I didn't know that the one thing I did not know is that there's one guy who basically has a trademark on all of the cheesehead foam heads. Yeah. Now, if you want to buy an authentic one, you have to go through him.
Oh, I don't
Some
want
guy
to see
owns.
it. It's not. Was it like? Is his head actually shaped like that? And it was this kind of an unfortunate thing.
You have some sort of a deep fryer accident.
Oh dear.
But I just, like I said, I think there are very few. I mean, sports are tribal, and there are very few things that are more tribal in sports than sort of claiming this sort of like slur on you, and turning it around into something that you own about your area personally. And certainly with Wisconsin, they are proud of their cheese. So instead of saying, well, how dare you call me a cheesehead, or I can't do a Wisconsin accent, so I'm not going to try.
No, that was perfect.
Was it? Good? Okay.
Yeah.
As good as any of my other accents? Mm-hmm. Perfect. They've owned it. And I kind of love that about it. So even though the Brewers can kind of go fuck off a little bit. You agree on that, Michael? How are we feeling about the Brewers?
Who cares? They didn't.
They lost.
They lost to us
Yeah.
in the championship series.
So they don't call them the beer heads because they're from Milwaukee. They're the Brewers.
Right. They should be the beer heads.
The brew heads,
Foam heads or something.
foam heads. Yes.
See?
Michael, what's your second?
My second choice is the fact that all cartoon cheese is the same slice of Swiss cheese in that triangle, and every image you will ever find is that same cheese. Here, I'm gonna show you guys. Here is cartoon cheese.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. It has more dimension. So you're showing us what is
Like a
Swiss
three-dimensional-
cheese, but it's a cheddar color, but looks like it's a Swiss
Yeah.
whole.
I hope that at some point that there was a cartoonist that tried to draw a different cheese, tried to draw like a brie,
Yeah.
and Big Cheese just came down and said, no, all cartoon cheese is the same triangle of cheese that a mouse can crawl in and out of. The end. No more cheese talk.
Well, do you think so you have your browser set to US. Do you think if you had it sent to France or something, there would be a wheel cheese and there would be a mouse drinking a white wine or like red wine or something next
With
to
a
it?
baguette.
With a baguette. Do you think it would be
I
different
love
cheese?
this idea. Well, let's see. If it was set to Japan, it would be like this anime cheese.
Yeah.
It would be very, very moving very quickly through the frame, but it would be the same cheese. It would be slice of cheese with the holes and whatever. I love the idea that cheese has just been, homogenized into this singular aspect of cheese. That
in cartoons, a bomb can come in. It could be plastic explosive, or it could be some kind of other. No, it's always a bowling ball with the candle and the thing sticking out of it. Yeah,
I just love how ridiculous. I think it's amazing that you can distill something down to this kind of pure form.
Yeah.
And if you're drawing a block of cheese, you're drawing an apple, you're drawing a banana. They're all gonna. I mean,
I think because wedges are easy to anthropomorphize because it's easy to give them legs and then put the eyes on the block and everything. It'd be harder to do that with like a runny cheese.
Yeah.
It's just sort of melting all over the place.
Would you say the most cheese you've had is a Kraft single type of thing? For me,
No.
Or no, okay,
No.
I'd say I've eaten more American cheese than.
that's
Look at Johnny Appleseed, Mr. America over here. Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
That's an interesting thing. I probably the most cheese. I mean, I know the most cheese that I've ever had. It's mozzarella.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
We've all just.
That's all you're real.
Mine's probably Velveeta, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I
that's
grew up
right.
with a lot of Velveeta.
It's just funny that it's always Swiss cheese, and no offense, Swiss cheese.
No.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
I don't want it on a sandwich. I don't want.
I like Swiss cheese. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
I can only do that on a turkey sandwich.
if it's aged. It got to be an
Okay.
aged Swiss cheese. Give it a little bit more flavor.
Okay, well, if we're talking about perverted cheese, thing,
Aren't we
smoked.
always?
Everything, there's always the cheese, and then there's the smoked version, which
So
I got to
Gouda
think.
and then smoked Gouda.
Yeah, I got to think that means this is the shitty Gouda that we couldn't move, that didn't turn out. This is a bad batch, so we smoked it.
So then we're going to charge like an extra 50 cents because it's
Yeah.
smoked.
Yeah, the weirdest guy I've ever worked with. He worked in a cube next to mine, and I heard him start this conference call.
Jeff Cast.
And I hear this. He says, "Well, while we're waiting for everyone to get on the call, let's all go quickly around and name our top 5 cheeses. I'll start." Cheddar, smoked cheddar, and he always did the like Swiss. Smoked Swiss. He would do the smoked version, and then afterwards, okay, who's next? And then you just heard on the other conference call people go, "Wow, I didn't see that coming, Steven." It was kind of hilarious. Okay, we are at our halftime with the Mount Rushmore of cheese, and clearly we are in need of inspiration for topics here at the Mount Rushmore podcast. This is where you, the audience, come in. You can go to our social handles and suggest a topic that you think would be great for us to discuss. Could be the Mount Rushmore of lunch meats, the Mount Rushmore of breads, Mount Rushmore of sandwich bags, anything. Mustards.
Of a leafy green.
Yeah, leafy
Mount Rushmore
greens.
of like a sandwich meat.
Hamburger dills.
Mount Rushmore
tomatoes.
of cutting it crosswise,
Crosswise.
with or without.
Yeah.
Do you want the crust on that? Order up.
Mount Rushmore. All right, ding. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. And you can just find us on any of those platforms by searching Mount Rushmore Podcast. You could also do us a solid and go to iTunes or Stitcher. Download, rate, and review previous episodes of the podcast. We would love to hear what you think sincerely about our cheesy past episodes. It would be good if you did that. If you can remember to do
You'd be pretty curdy if you didn't do it.
It would be curd, yeah. It'd be curdy, yeah. So with that, we are back, and we are discussing the Mount Rushmore of cheese, and Richard is going to let us know his third.
All right. So my third is the cheesiest musical delight that you can possibly have, which is ABBA.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
The kings and queens of musical cheese.
Musical cheese. Benny and Bjorn.
Benny, Bjorn, Agnetha, and Annefried. Which, if you didn't know, that's where their name comes from.
I didn't know.
You didn't? Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was the rhyme scheme or something like that.
No, it's their first initials.
Cool.
So I unabashedly, it's funny because I am the guy who listens to John Zorn. I'm the guy who sits here and waxes about, Fugazi.
Yeah.
I am unapologetically in the tank for ABBA.
Yeah.
I think they made such perfect pop songs. Mm-hmm. And I understand why people think that it's cheesy.
Yeah.
I get it. But sometimes you have to just lean into that as a musical thing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's fine to be cheesy. And I'm always trying to figure out why people apply cheesy to ABBA. And I think it's just because it's so like over the top.
Yeah.
Everything is just very like, there's not a lot of subtlety in ABBA songs. The chords are like big chords. You know, the melodies are kind of these big melodies. And they're clothes, for God's sakes. Mainly, I think 80% of it is what they wore, which I didn't realize. I did a little bit of research on this and looked this up as part of the research I was doing. The reason why their clothes were so garish was because, according to Swedish law, you had to pay taxes on your outfits unless it was something that you could say was not suitable for wearing in regular everyday life.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so they purposely made the outfits as garish and costumey as possible so they could get a tax write-off on them.
God, just like Venezuela, these socialist countries that are bringing down everybody's standing by their weird tax stuff.
What's your favorite? What do you think is the cheesiest an ABBA song that even you think like Fernando or something like that?
Fernando's pretty bad. There's one called Your Mother Should... what's it called? Is it called Your Mother Should Know? I'm mixing it up with the Beatles song. Uh-huh. But it's basically, it's one of the few ones sung by the guys. Oh. And it's about a girl, you know. But basically, it's one of those, like, you're only 14, but I'm really into you, but I know I shouldn't be into you at the dance floor sort of thing. And it's like,
does your mother know?
Does your mother know? That's what it's called. Yeah, that one's pretty, I don't even say that's cheesy. I think it's pretty stomach turning might be the better term. But Fernando's pretty cheesy as well. On the flip side, Mamma Mia is one of the best glam rock songs of the era. Yeah. It's just nobody recognized it as a glam rock song at the time. But I could totally, you could totally picture T-Rex doing that song.
And it has more of a guitar solo than some of the...
Yeah, it definitely have more of a big guitar sound. For sure.
Is ABBA sincere, or do they lean into this?
I think they're sincere about it.
So I'm having don't you have to, if like something is cheesy, don't you have to at some point like acknowledge that and lean into it to be like
think so.
I mean, maybe I'm thinking of it in terms of like your Richard Cheese choice.
I think Kenny G is cheesy, but I don't think that he recognizes that he's cheesy.
Do you think I think of McCartney's penning silly love songs, someone who acknowledges the sentiment and the audience pleasing aspects of their work and not being afraid to do that?
Yeah, I guess it's a matter of what you consider that makes music cheesy.
I would also say that ABBA is not always lumped in with disco because they were on the pop charts as well, but disco being a meritocracy. So dance music has always been a meritocracy because if people dance to it, then it's good. It doesn't have to be, there are some songs in the 70s that nobody knew who Andrea True of the Andrea Connection, nobody knew who Tavares was or TSOP, you know, but people knew that they were out there dancing. Right. So I would say that one thing that ABBA falls into is that danceable stuff that we kind of lump together as disco. And all it needed to do is get you moving.
Yeah. And I found it interesting that in their time, ABBA was not critically like reviled. That critics actually, there were a lot of critics appreciated ABBA.
Oh, is that right?
It wasn't until after sort of the post-disco era, let's call it.
Disco sucks,
yeah, that it became this sort of like joke.
Yeah. I think a lot of that stuff kind of goes so quickly out of fashion, and maybe the fact that they were not American was another thing that people kind of...
Oh, sure. Yeah, we hate the Swedes, so I get that.
When it was the 80s and punk and new wave and stuff had kind of made its way to MTV, One Night in Bangkok comes on TV, and I didn't know that was a Benin Bjorn penned from the musical Chess.
From the musical Chess, yeah.
That was their
Do you know any other songs from Chess, Jeff?
No, I don't.
I'm playing chess. It's the favorite game that I play. I think that's one of them.
Hey, Mr. Rook, what you doing over there? You move 3 spaces forward. Something like that.
Something like that. I think that's one of
Richard,
it's a book song, yeah.
Richard and I like to perform for musicals that we don't know or don't understand. Okay, cool. Okay, Michael's next cheese.
What is that cheese where they take like a super hot sword and like cut it off a wheel of cheese onto your plate, and they're like, "This is your food now."
What? What are you talking about?
It's called raclette.
Raclette.
What?
You've never seen the images of this?
No.
No.
So you take
This is
a. I've
I
never
knew a
had
hooker
it.
named Raclette.
I've never had it, and it sounds absolutely delicious. It's like the Swiss type of cheese where it's like on a wheel, and they superheat one edge of this wheel of cheese, like getting it bubbling, and you take like a machete and you cut off this dribbling
God, that sounds amazing.
thing of like just molten cheese on top of like, I assume like your filet mignon.
Right.
Like whatever food you have is like, oh, here's my amazing plate of food. We're just gonna we're just gonna nacho size it a little bit by like slicing off like this molten layer of like cheese just covers all of it.
I want raclette. Everything should be raclette.
It feels everything should be. It feels like the fancier version of like fondue.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. This feels like some upscale hipster version of fondue.
Apparently, it is from Switzerland in the French Alps.
Of course it is.
And has been going on for, hundreds of years where some guy was like, I'm just going to take my sword and slice this thing off.
Oh,
And
that's
it
epic.
just, this melty, burny cheese. And there's nothing better. Like, it's the upscale version of just like nachos on your, whatever that's on your plate. Let's just cover it in cheese and it's going to be delicious.
Wow. Speaking of I'm going to flip these grilled cheeses over. Does anybody want?
Oh, can you get some bacon in there?
Oh, yeah, sure.
But now I got to do a flipping sound effect too.
Perfect.
Cartoon. It's the sound
my
effect
God.
from when Drip Along Daffy. It's like it's like drinking that super poisonous like liquor, and then like he drinks it and just like his hat flips around.
Okay, Richard, your final choice for cheese.
So mine's very much in the same vein. I really wanted to not have an actual cheese product in here to go with my theme, but I couldn't leave queso fundido off of the list because
It's the final case. What is this?
queso fundido. You never had queso fundido at a Mexican restaurant?
No.
Oh wow! I'll show it to you.
This seems as suspicious as my like hot machete cheese.
Machete
That
of
sounds like
cheese.
something the doctor in Tijuana would say that you have.
You got a case of queso fundido. It's
Sorry, my
basically
friend.
it's just like a little skillet or a
Oh,
little
with-
bowl.
Okay, yeah.
with melted cheese, and you got some crumbled chorizo on top.
It's Mexican fondue.
It's
Yeah.
basically Mexican fondue.
Love it.
And it's basically, melted cheese is really greasy. What can we do to ramp up the grease factor
Yeah.
even more? Oh, I know. Let's put chorizo on top of it.
Yeah.
I mean, because basically what you do is you either eat it with a fork, or what I usually do is you take tortillas and you just sort of scoop it up.
Mm-hmm.
And you just wind up with this like film of grease
Mm-hmm.
like on your everywhere.
Yeah. Any kids listening, Richard is not the person to listen to for dietary advice.
I am not a doctor.
He's not a doctor.
Not a
Not a
cardiologist.
dietitian.
Not a dietitian.
Why was that the only actual cheese that you chose?
Because I have a very specific. I do have a very specific
Set of skills. And it's eating
all
blocks of cheese.
They're all cheese related. No, I have a very specific memory of this from being in college, and we would go to La Barca over by USC, where they were very generous with their lack of carding on margarita nights.
Yeah.
And so you'd go there and get 4 or 5 margaritas and order like 2 or 3 things of queso fundido for the table, and that would be like your dinner with your margaritas.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, because nothing is better than eating a bunch of cheese and then drinking a lot of sugary drinks.
Sugary.
Perfect. Good thinking, guys. Never went wrong.
That looks like a dish that is not a native indigenous to Mexico or Spain type of dish, but something that was invented at a Chi-Chi's or something.
Or Taco Bell or something
Taco
like
Bell,
that.
yeah.
No, it actually is. I think that is actually something.
It says fundito, right?
Right.
That seems like
Fun.
something you wear a hat while you wear it or something like that.
So if somebody with a lot of sparkle would be serving to you.
Yeah.
Okay, we got the queso fundido.
Yeah. They're trying
Brad
to
would
smile.
be serving it to you.
They're trying to smile. Okay, that was fundito. Here, Richard, you finished your choices.
I have.
Here's your grilled cheese.
Oh, lovely.
There you go. Here's a little strip of bacon.
Oh,
There you go.
There you go.
All right, Michael, what's your last choice?
Mozzarella cheese.
Of course you were going there.
Boom!
Of course you're going there. I left.
Do I need to even keep talking? Mozzarella
Wow.
cheese is perfect and delicious, and it is the only thing that's keeping my body together. If I did not my body is like
It is the
82% mozzarella cheese
Yeah.
at this point by the amount of pizza that we've consumed.
Is the mozzarella that you have on a normal pizza do people eat mozzarella just by itself ever? I don't feel like I ever have.
I have before.
If you have sure. I love mozzarella in a bruschetta.
Okay.
Nice bruschetta.
Okay.
Nice bruschetta.
Okay.
Like with,
bruschetta? Is it bruschetta?
Bruschetta.
Bruschetta.
Just the way you can say
Why are
it
you,
anyway.
why are you narrowing your eyes?
It's so good. Technically, isn't like string cheese? Isn't that like a?
What type of mozzarella?
I think it's a type of mozzarella too.
processed. I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, even when you're making your own pizza, whenever you do that at home, every once in a while, you'll sneak a little bit of mozzarella in there as you're putting it out on the.
Love that fresh, kind of wet mozzarella that goes on top of the pizza. Those silver dollar size mozzarella slices that are so perfect. That
Is
melt.
that the buffalo mozzarella? Is that what that is?
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
I don't know.
Emily and I went to a super fancy dinner one time.
Yeah.
At this place called Brandywine, and they made their own mozzarella fresh daily.
Oh.
And it was like one of those, oh my God, this is,
Yeah.
well, we certainly can't afford to come back here again. I'm glad we did. It's amazing that, it's funny, there's some cheeses that are just aged, and
Yeah.
they get better with age. Fresh mozzarella is the best. It's
Yeah.
it's fresh, it's right there. It doesn't need to sit around in some sort of barrel. I do not know how they make cheese.
Yeah.
I assume it goes in a barrel like whiskey.
Yeah.
Throw that cheese in
Yeah.
a barrel and just let
Yeah.
it soak up all the splinters and whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm also suspicious of? That rind on cheese.
Rhymed on?
The rind.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I do not trust that on
That's not how cheese is supposed to be, though.
I don't know. I don't trust it.
Okay.
But on a fresh mozzarella, it doesn't have it. It doesn't
Yeah.
need that rind.
Yeah.
It's right there, and it's just maybe that's why I like it a lot. It's just I look at other cheeses and I'm like, I don't know what's going on that wax.
Yeah.
Suspicious.
Yeah.
I don't trust you cheeses
Yeah.
with rinds.
Or it's like the prison, you're not keeping me in. Oh, wait. You're in here with me. That's what the cheese is saying.
You know who I don't trust? People that eat the rind on cheeses.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like,
Gross. It's
It's
like
wax.
eating paraffin wax. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
wax.
You're eating a seal, not like a seal, but like the actual seal on an envelope.
please do more animal noises.
Okay, all right. It's
What does a
judge-
giraffe do?
It kind of makes giraffes are pretty noiseless, actually.
I like that all animals, if you don't know what they sound like, are all like,
Or kind of a grungy
That's a pretty
thing.
good capybara.
See?
Right there.
also could have been like a koala. I don't know what they sound like. A giraffe, they all have the same.
All right, guys, let's put this category to bed. And so
a bed of cheese.
each of these gentlemen have read to us their Mount Rushmore of Cheese related things. And I do say related because Richards was very related to cheese. Like I'm related to,
Like you're related to a chimpanzee.
like Michael Jordan. Or so, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no comparison there. And so I'm gonna go.
God.
I'm gonna go 0 points for Richard and 0 points for Michael, and 1 point for the red stick in the cracker of Nabisco Handy Snacks.
I gotta put this. I'm gonna put this under Jeff points. Okay, go ahead.
1 point has been earned to this episode of the Mount Rushmore podcast, and that is because of the controversy created when they removed the red stick from the Ritz Craft Handy Snacks ensemble little package snack thing there, and a outcry happened.
How are you supposed to spread your cheese if you don't have the red stick?
Good freaking question. I think they thought the cracker itself would be the serving.
Like you would just dip it?
You'd just
It's going
dip
to
it.
break. That cracker's going to break. That
Agreed.
cheese is too heavy.
Agreed.
Who are the pro? Who's pro removing the cracker?
Or the
No,
stick,
no,
yeah.
no.
What society? What society do we live in where this must be like a 99-1 sort of situation? Who's the guy?
The Ritz Crackers companies, probably because of the daily choking deaths from this thing. Can you imagine how many truckers? I imagine the trucker community alone chokes on that stick. Like, you grab it.
Right.
You're
Do you think it
getting
gets
into
stuck
gear.
in your teeth like the Rancor?
I think so. Like Luke stuck the cracker. And you go from being stop motion to kind of a puppet, and then before you die.
And then a fat guy, like in a diaper, comes out and cries about you.
His pet Rancor. Like, he really raised it from like a baby Rancor. Okay.
Oh, this episode went so far off the rails, you guys.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you each one. You each get one. Okay. Michael, you get one for mozzarella cheese, because that's been your MO for so very long.
Mr. Mozzarella.
My MOZZARELLA.
Your Moz.
And Richard, I'll give you one for QUESO FUNDITO. And that's what this episode was. Cheesy fun. So thanks so much for listening to the Mount Rushmore podcast. I, as always, am Cheddar.
I'm Gouda.
And Michael.